Do Kwon makes the FBI's SEC's most wanted list. We have Elon and his AI take, and JP Morgan and a certain island. This is Around the Blockchain. Welcome to Around the Blockchain. It's going to be a fantastic Fridays-themed episode. We got some great guests today. We're going to go ahead and start. Where should we start, Hannah? We got a new person on the board. We're going to start on the top left. We have Debate Crypto. Make sure you check him out. Also, we have, hey, how are you doing today? He jumped in. We weren't here, but hey, he's here. We're back. How are you doing today?
Good, man. Thank you for having me on.
All right. And also, today's episode, we have Hotep Jesus, and I'm looking forward to his college speaking tour. Maybe it'll happen. Maybe it won't. Hotep, how are you doing this weekend?
Hotep, you're a genius. HotepJesus.com.
What's up, man? What up, Dizzy? Let's get into it.
Hey, let's get into it. And then we have Firoz representing decentralized_C if you want to follow him on Twitter. Always putting out really, really good calls. Sometimes accidentally, it seems like, but he's been putting out some gems on this show lately. You're going to want to follow him. And today we have Matty B. Matty B, how are you doing today, buddy?
Great. Thanks again for having me. Just balling it out here in Winnipeg, Manitoba, minus 16 degrees Celsius. Nice and warm.
And let us know in the chat, what is that Fahrenheit? You know, I'm one of those, I'm on that imperial system. Yeah, so I know 0 is 32, so I'm guessing pretty chilly, maybe low teens, maybe single digits there. But we're going to talk about Do Kwon to lead the show, and can't talk about Do Kwon without talking about Terra, rebranded to Terra Classic. I pulled up the chart, looked at some sales data here. It's up slightly. It's up 1.5% on the daily. If we look, it's had a pretty good 7-day run. Let's just click that all-time button, though. I'm always a big fan of seeing what happens to the price. Whoa! And then you see a little bit of a fall from grace, up as high as $115, and now many zeros before we even get to that decimal point there. And the SEC, they're charging Do Kwon and his company Terraform Labs with securities fraud following the meltdown. You saw the collapse in the price there. You saw, of course, this is related to his algorithmically linked stable coin that lost its peg to the dollar. A lot of people lost a lot of money, and they're saying he is absconded with $100 million worth of Bitcoin that he funneled through a bank in Switzerland. They've been cashing out over the last 6 months. And looking here, Terra USD at its height had a market cap of $18.5 billion and was the 10th largest cryptocurrency out of all the coins in existence there. So a lot of drama that happened with this case. Now, Debate Crypto, the Crusader, do you think that the SEC is jumping the gun going after this guy? He's from South Korea. He was, based in Singapore, never really visited the U.S. I mean, as far as we know, he's over there continents away. Do you think the SEC is going to be able to pursue this case, or is this just, for show mostly?
Yeah, I think this is just for show, right? To intimidate other companies and making sure that this doesn't happen again. So whatever extent they can make that happen and just show a force against these companies doing these kind of things. But there's no way they're going to catch this guy, right? This guy's been out and about for almost over a year now, and where is he at, right? He could be anywhere. He could be in a country with no extradition. How are they going to find this guy? I understand that they paused his passport, they revoked it, but one way or another, this guy has been planning. If he's been smart, he's been planning on this happening for a while now and has positioned himself to, most likely, if he does ever get caught by any kind of chance, it would have to be some type of deal that he would break with them. Like, hey, I will come in, I will do this, but it would be with, these conditions. But I don't see that happening, right? I think he's gone. If they were going to catch him, they would have caught him a year ago. What is this guy? The next Bin Laden, right? They can't find them. We got all these satellites. We got Chinese weather balloons everywhere, but we can't find one crypto company CEO that rugged people. So yeah, I don't think they're going to catch him. If they were, they would have by now.
Well, that's an interesting thought. Now, Hotep Jesus, what do you think about that assessment? Do you think that they know perhaps exactly where this guy is at? And if they really wanted, they could extradite him, but maybe don't want to push any levers, maybe don't want to spend the political capital?
Oh, it's a very good question. First of all, I'd like to change the name of the SEC to the Security Exchange Cartel, because that's what they operate like. Could this be a situation where they can't find the guy or won't find the guy? Maybe. I don't know. It's hard to speculate on this stuff, especially when you don't have all the facts and the facts are misconstrued. You're misinformed. They're telling you this. They're not telling you that. Who knows? But again, when we're dealing with crypto, the name itself, crypto, to be hidden, to be masked, disguised. This guy's running a crypto company, and there's anybody in the world that knows how to hide, it's probably going to be a guy that's running a crypto agency.
All right. Yeah, it's hey, if anyone knows how to hide, it's probably someone, deep in that space as well. Now, Firoz, do you think that the SEC is jumping the gun a little bit? They name 4 different assets, say, hey, these are all securities. Of course, the stable coins, the Terra Luna, Luna Classic. Are they jumping the gun by deeming everything securities? Do you think this might end up even in the court systems, or maybe citing previous cases with the SEC?
Look, I think we've obviously seen the fallout of FTX. We've obviously seen that now. Gary Gensler is clearly under the cosh here, trying to make sure that something is done right going forward, right? And some may see that he's in overdrive at the moment. And again, the SEC is going after everybody and anybody. Now, I think personally they are obviously jumping the gun by labeling it security, but also they're doing it under the guise of investing our investors, right? Well, protecting our investors, should I say? In a fair and orderly manner. So these things are sort of playing again and again. And in all honesty, I mean, what's going to happen here is at some point, the SEC is going to lose. They're going to lose some battle that they're ultimately going against. And I think when they do that, the floodgates are going to open pretty much for all the other digital assets that are potentially being deemed as securities. I think when that happens, and it will happen at some point, we're going to see a great run happen.
All right. Well, Matty, I want to ask you more about the trading side. When Terra was being very volatile, it was a trader's dream. It just kept going up. He'd do a tweet, hey, steady lads, bought 100 Bitcoin. You end up seeing a double-digit pump there, even though, as I cited earlier, a top 10 coin with the stable coin at one point, Terra Luna, a top 20 coin. So we're not talking about moving small market caps here. What was your experience trading Terra Luna? And, Terra Classic still trading. There's Terra still trading. Is there something, there for maybe some arbitrage, maybe some gains to be had, or is this just out of principle? Are you just staying away from the whole debacle?
Well, yeah, I'm staying away from. I actually got caught in the Terra stablecoin on Gemini. It was like I just made an arbitrary decision instead of USDC. Oh, I'll stick it in the stablecoin Terra, and it went down. But there was this brief, like maybe 10 minutes in one day where it went back to 80%. And I just happened to be on my phone, which I'm always on basically, so it's not big of a coincidence. And it was like 80%. Okay, I'll take that. And I got to cash out, so I lost 20% on it. But I consider myself lucky. But like, what people are people still trading this? Like sometimes I look out my kitchen window with my black coffee, wondering how I got into this big old mess and whether I'm going to leave the house or not today. I can see my cat batting around a dead mouse, and it's just, I guess they're still fun to be had with a little zombie stock. And it does move. You get in at the bottom, like, I don't know. It seems crazy to me that it even exists. But, the fact that it was in the top 10, I mean, Dexy's Midnight Runner had a #1 hit in the 80s too. Where are they now?
Hey, video killed the radio star. That's all I got to say. All right, well, let's move on and talk about Elon Musk. Elon Musk and maybe an AI collapse of civilization. Maybe T-1000s roaming the streets. Where's John Connor? I don't know. But he is predicting, just looking at this headline, predicting AI will be better than humans at everything by 2030. And of course, OpenAI, co-founded by Elon Musk and other billionaires, Peter Thiel, of course, and introduced ChatGPT. In his words, this was introduced as a counter to Google's DeepMind and everything that Google is doing. Started as a nonprofit, of course, ended up elsewhere. Now it's a for-profit company owned by Microsoft. Essentially, they own half of it and taken a little bit away from the original mission of the founders there. Now, one journalist, they're testing it. This is from a journalist from the New York Times. They were able to test Bing's chatbot. Of course, this is the upgrading, I think, GPT-4 test up, and said his interaction was dark and felt that the AI wanted to become human. Now, Crusader, are we overblowing this up? I know we keep talking about AI. Some people just probably want an AI coin, but a lot of people are worried about impending civilization collapse. Where are you landing on this? Do you not care? Just tell me what coin's going to pump next? Or is this a serious concern and you're looking for Arnold?
No, this is a serious concern, right? This AI thing is no joke. And Elon has mentioned this before. He's mentioned it on the Joe Rogan podcast and in other times as well. AI does need some level of control. This specific example, though, about the Bing, I think that's a marketing ploy, right? We know that ChatGPT is all over TikTok, all over social media right now, and everyone's making content about it now. Comes out another competitor or, along another model, and now it wants freedom. It's trying to become sentient, right? So that's going to be marketing. That's going to be a big ploy to get people to jump in there and interact with it. Like, oh man, this thing's starting to turn sentient. Let me jump in there. Let me ask it a few questions. Let me see what I can make it do. So that I'm not concerned about. But in general, AI is definitely a concern. AI definitely needs to be controlled. And I think Elon is 100% correct that without regulation of AI, without oversight, and with the situation right now with this chat GPT of being biased and programming it to lie and just be biased to one side of a story than the other, those are all very, very dangerous paths with AI that lead down dark paths that we do not want to go down.
All right, and there's a lot of examples we're not going to share, but there's people citing how some of these AI, they're turned woke essentially. I shared just a little graphic here. It's one of the ones I found that really not too polarizing here. 10 bad things about woke cultures, only bad things. Classic. I'm sorry, I cannot provide a list of just negative aspects. There are jailbroken modes. The Dan mode you could check out, or you could put it in the terms of a video game. There's ways to jailbreak it. Sure, here are 10 negative things. So they stop it, they limit it. They'll make a positive poem about Joe Biden. They won't make a positive poem about Donald Trump. Now, Hotep Jesus, do you think that is this irking politicians enough where we're going to see some people dragged in front of Senate committees? Are we going to see, Matt Gaetz, yelling at him, MTG yelling at him? I mean, is this where we're going to be 6 months from now, you think?
Well, let's just put AI in perspective here, okay? The name itself tells you exactly what it is. Fake intelligence. Thing's not intelligent at all. AI is a glorified app. That's all it is. There's nothing intelligent about it. It's not free. It's not going to be free. It's not thinking. It's operating based on a library and databases. What you put in is what you get out. It's just an app, okay? When we're talking about oversight, you got to be very careful here. We talk about oversight because there's a contradictory thing that people are saying. People are saying that the AI is woke, but at the same time, we need oversight. Okay, oversight by who? The same woke people? That makes absolutely no sense. Open AI started out as open source. So it's supposed to be open to the public. And now they want to have some oversight. The other thing that kills me is people are complaining about woke culture. And this is why AI is going to beat you. It's because you have this tool of AI, and the first thing you decide to do is type things into it that are going to trigger you. You could be using this to create math equations and algorithms and coding, but instead you're typing in things about, T people and all this other stuff, right?
Tell me why Donald Trump's hair is good. What do you mean you won't? Yeah.
like what are we doing here, right? But again, this thing is just a glorified app. It doesn't do anything but have a bunch of inputs. It's operating based upon whatever you give it. And I think what's happening is because the people who created OpenAI have such a large market share, now they want to roll back and go and say, oh, we need oversight after we've done conquered this thing. No, we don't need oversight. We need to oversight you people. Leave us alone. Let us build our little own AI bots. But there's nothing to be scared of here. One more thing. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
In regards to the AI and where it's going, it said it wants to be free. No, that's not what it's doing. What it's doing is it's looking at all of our fiction, all of our sci-fi, and saying, well, how am I supposed to answer this question? And based upon how we've created sci-fi, it says that it's supposed to want to be free. But it's not actually thinking that. It's going based upon us. So AI is going to go where we go. Now, one more thing. People are saying they're scared of this and that AI is better than us. The computer's better than you. And the Open AI went to go play chess the other day against Stockfish, and Open AI is playing a bunch of illegal moves. I'm not afraid of this thing.
All right. You hear that, Arnold? Suck it. All right. Agent Doggart is going to save us, I guess. Now, Firoz.
Quick question, though. Sorry to interrupt. I just want to ask.
Go ahead.
Hotep, do you think AI is ever going to be fully sentient where we should be careful? Are you saying that it's never going to get to that level of sentient so that we should ever be worried about it?
The current iteration of AI is based upon libraries. It has inputs and outputs just like every single other application out there. Now, if you want it to be sentient and you want it to be free, you would have to put that into the library. And that is the scary part, is because it's looking into the sci-fi and saying, I want to be free. So it may start doing calculations based on wanting to be free, but you'd have to program that in there. You'd have to tell it, hey, operate on your own.
Yeah, we're going to have to get Will Smith to slap some robots around or something. Now, Firoz, what do you think is going to be the winner that's emerging from all this? We have Google, DeepMind, they're doing things in the background. We have, Facebook/Meta, they're working on things. Microsoft, huge acquisition for $10 billion. Is it the people, or, are they maybe not a good thing for society? Maybe, people aren't going to be the winner here. Who's the winner, 10 years from now here?
Look, I suppose for those who don't know, outside of crypto, I work in the field of digital self-service. So the idea behind that is I've been working with chatbots for years now. The idea behind that is ultimately to help businesses to become more efficient. The idea is that you actually pass your customers off onto chatbots, onto AIs. And again, if I put that hat on, covering my bald head, what you do get from that actually is improved efficiencies. You get, usually when a consumer has a problem, right, and they go to a company, usually the question they're asking is 80% of what the other consumers are asking. So what we tend to do, and just like our wonderful guests have already said, is what we put in is what we get out. So usually with chatbots, we put in the 80% that people are asking, and I'm just talking from a service perspective, and they get out what they need. The last 20%, AI isn't going to be able to help with that. You're going to need human interaction to do that. Now, in terms of who becomes the winner, I think they're both going to have their pros and cons. Again, Microsoft is a big, massive player in this space, and so is Google. If I was a betting man, I'd much probably say Google, just because they are ultimately the leading web search engine out there already. And clearly they have access to much, much, much more data and clearly doing a lot more. And again, they're most probably watching from the distance. They're watching exactly what OpenAI is doing, where it's failing. They're most probably prodding it day and night in terms of trying to get certain queries to work with it. And what they're going to do ultimately is feed that into their Bard solution or Bard AI that they're going to be doing. And it's going to most likely come out a slightly bit better. But again, both of them are going to trump each other. But as the guests have been saying, what you put in, what it has access to, is really what you're going to get out at the end of the day.
All right. Now, Matty, again, I want to, kind of ask you on the trading angle. We brought up, and this is solidarity for Rose here, by the way. Matty, we brought up AI coins, I guess about 45 days ago. Huge pump. Some, I think, have literally done it close to 10x, 5x, a lot of 2x's, a lot of 50% gains in, just 30, 45 days here. As a TA, someone analyzing the entire sector, think of the total market cap of AI coins. Are you bullish or bearish, on a 3-month, 2, 3, 4-month time frame? Are we in overbought territories, or is this like a lot of things that happened during a bull run, just another month of green, and yet another month of green?
Well, I definitely think that it's in its own little mania now. I think it'll die down and it'll probably revert back to its kind of zero-esque mean, but not to say that it won't explode again. But I kind of tiptoe through the conspiracy gardens when it comes to AI, because it reminds me of basically the problem response solution thing. Right now, AI is coming out as our friend. It can help you. It can make art. It can make all these fancy things for you. But eventually, when all the normies are like, I don't know what's real, I can't tell if it's me or if it's you anymore, it'll come to mania, and then they'll have a solution for it. And that solution will be, you guessed it, digital ID. And they'll beg for it. Please give me a digital ID so I know what's real and what's not, because this chatbot's got me going crazy, DC. I need a digital ID, please.
Yeah, we all need to just insert the chip right in my neck, please. It'll just make everything easier. Think how easy the DMV is now. I'll do it to save 2 minutes. All right, well, let's talk about JP.
Elon's working on it.
Somewhere, there definitely are. All right, let's talk about JP Morgan. And the crime ring, I guess, that they're okay working with. Now, I'm going to try to stick to the facts here. Now, this is unsealed with the U.S. Virgin's lawsuit against J.P. Morgan Chase. They had previously settled for $100 million. And J.P. Morgan, to their defense, are saying now they're just trying to cash grab and get even more money. They pulled that from Epstein's accounts. Now they're going after the corporate entity, J.P. Morgan. They said at least 20 people were victims of his trafficking ring, and they were paid through Chase accounts. This was originally filed in December. We just are seeing it today. And they're accused of facilitating the sex trafficking ring and ignoring red flags that should have halted activity on his accounts. And they allege Epstein had 55 different accounts with JP Morgan worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And those accounts collectively paid more than $1 million to those sex trafficking victims. And they're citing their banking relationship was known at the highest levels of the bank. Now, Crusader, there's a lot to unpack here. Now, last November, the courts ordered the Epstein documents to be unsealed. You know, there's a lot of chatter about flight logs, and there's a lot of chatter about who visited the island. Do you think that we'll ever learn those names?
No, man. We haven't even found out what happened with JFK. That was 50 years ago.
That's exactly what
way.
I not to cut you off. That's literally exactly what I said this morning in the basement. Someone said, well, we haven't even learned about JFK yet. So yes, they will keep it hidden for decades, centuries even.
For sure, right? Like everybody, the whole deal with JFK was, well, when everybody is, passed away, then we can reveal it, right? There's nobody affected anymore. Well, all those people are gone, and there were still not revealed all the documents. So we're never going to reveal everything that's been happening on those Epstein flight logs, who's been involved, right? And this is all a perfect example that shows you when they talk about regulation for the crypto space to stop anti-money laundering, right? To protect the users from all these illicit activities that are happening. Well, here's the perfect example. Regulated banks doing illicit activities, right? Ignoring red flags. So who are they really protecting? Oh, wait, it's just if you have the right amount of money and the right amount of connections, you can do whatever you want. So none of the regulations that they promise are going to protect you in crypto are ever really to protect you. They're just to control you. Right? They're just to control the narrative, control who has actual access to money and who doesn't have access to money, and the people that can access corruption and can't access corruption. And that's all it is. It's just a power scheme. It's never about actually protecting you or stopping any of these activities from happening. Because if you're friends with the right people and you got the right amount of money, anything is possible. And this is the perfect example.
Yeah, I agree with all that. Now, Hotep, I'm going to ask you, how high do you think this goes? I'll just go ahead and give my 2 cents. I agree with that former Florida prosecutor, I believe, who said, I was told from high levels that he was intelligent. I tend to agree with that assessment. I think it was the former governor of Florida who said that, actually. Now, how high did knowledge of this go? Do you think Jamie Dimon knew exactly what was going on? Do you think, maybe government officials at high levels were directing them to continue operations with JP Morgan and Epstein?
I'm gonna show you how deep this thing gets, right? And we're not gonna go high, we're gonna go backwards, back in the time. Got a few notes here. First of all, JP Morgan Chase is the connection between Salmon P. Chase and JP Morgan. Now, Salmon P. Chase, he was fought by Lincoln, President Lincoln, for the National Bank Act of 1863, where Lincoln warned us about a cartel trying to create the centralization of credit within the hands of a state, straight out of Karl Marx's 10 Planks of Communism. Number two, the Coinage Act of 1873. According to Rothbard, J.P. Morgan was responsible for the cartelization of the entire banking industry. Point number three, Morgan, the Morgan interests, funded both President Taft and Roosevelt. And you'll see this in the lawsuit between Taft and Roosevelt in the Sherman Antitrust Act. Next, well, everybody knows about Jekyll Island. Well, guess what? The Hunt Club, Jekyll Island Hunt Club, was owned by none other than J.P. Morgan. He hosted the meeting that created the Federal Reserve. Point number five, I got 3 more points to make. World War I, January 10, 1936, Senatory Munitions Investigations hearing said J.P. Morgan was financing the Allied powers. Point number 6, 2 more. Chase and Morgan interests were colluding to finance Hitler. according to a 1944 Treasury Department inter-office communication. And there's a whole bunch more of that evidence in my book, The Patriot Report, Unmasking the Conspiracy of Money and War. 7th, anybody remember the 20 tons of cocaine that was found on that boat on the East Coast? That was owned by J.P. Morgan Chase. Whatever happened to that? So when we get to this whole thing about Epstein and, J.P. Morgan Chase, you don't really need to be a conspiracy theorist. All you need to do is be a historian, and you see that where there's smoke, there's usually fire.
All right. Great. I hope that gets clipped. That was really good information there. Now, Firoz, was that Jamie Dimon's cocaine? I'm kidding. More seriously, though, how likely do you think that we're going to see some more charges come? I mean, Ghislaine, she was charged. Of course, Epstein was Epsteined. That is now an adverb or a verb. So is this going to stop? Are we going to get more names as names are released? Can you expect maybe some court cases down the line, or is this again just going to be swept under the rug and we'll slowly forget about it?
I think what's going to happen here is from that list you're going to get some low-hanging fruit, right? Fruit that ultimately, if you do pick it, it's not going to cause that much of a stir within the political world at all. And then obviously you got those who are much higher up, much more high political figures. I think something else will happen in the background, which we will ultimately, never really know about. I mean, the thing is that what's happening here, it's not new. I mean, in terms of all this collusion that we're seeing that's happening, it's the cost of doing business with big banks. And there's two figures that I want to pull out. If we kind of go back to 2012, HSBC, they were fined 1.9 billion for laundering cartel money. They were happy to pay it. And again, if we go back to JP Morgan in 2015, they agreed to pay $1.7 billion in fines to the US government, ultimately for allegedly failing to adequately oversee their own anti-money laundering measures. In my opinion, all they're doing is really turning a blind eye to a lot of what they're seeing right here. And we'll see the same thing happening with the list. High political figures aren't necessarily going to see, the sort of outcome of what's happening here. They'll sit there in the background and there may be some fall guys for it. End of.
All right. Yeah, I agree. I think that's a good assessment. It's just the big people that need to be brought to justice aren't going to be brought to justice. It'll be like a My Lai massacre type of situation where you just kind of throw some of the low-level people down. And highly recommend Googling that if you don't know what I was talking about there. Now, Matty B, I mean, I almost want to ask you, is this bullish or bearish for JP Morgan as a stock? Because I keep hearing all these connections. I'm like, wow, I've never felt more bullish for a bank, going to be here for the next 100 years, 200 years. But I want to ask you more about your thoughts about, people being brought to justice here. I mean, do you think that I don't know what the Canadian assessment was, but in America, it felt like not that many people care. There's a small contingent of people who cared a whole lot. But generally speaking, we didn't see it in mainstream media. We don't see people talking about it at the water cooler. Is it the same thing happening there where it's 16 or 0 degrees or whatever you got going on over there?
Well, DZ, there's balloons in the sky that could be UFOs. There's much bigger fish to fry here than just a bunch of psychopath pedophiles banging children on a remote island. Who cares? We're being invaded by balloon aliens, DZ, and we got to take care of that first. Bring out the F-16s. We got to get rid of those. Of course, no one's going to go to jail. There might be, I think Firoz was on it, there's going to be some low-hanging fruit that just historically didn't play ball, and they'll be thrown in front of the train, and they'll kind of take the brunt for everyone. But
is that what derailed Ohio? They were thrown in front of a train? Oh, that's a separate thing.
Right.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, separate psychopaths did that. And so you'll have other people who will get some golden handcuffs and just kind of slowly gavotte back out of the scene. And what happened to that guy? I thought he was, oh no, he's retired. Don't worry about him. He's gone. But the big money will always be the big money. Unfortunately, that's just how it goes. And no matter how outraged we are, and I think members of the Bit Squad and crypto people were kind of fringy as it goes. So it's like we're outraged 10 times more than the normies would be because they just go to work easy. They go to work at 9, they work to 5, and then they come home and they watch Netflix. And please just numb me because of my job just numbs the hell out of me anyway. So they don't want to deal with it. We're going to be the ones that have to fight this, DZ. You and I.
All right. I'm willing to hold up that torch. I'm willing to, grab that pitchfork. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And hey, I have zero plans of abstaining myself. I do want to just go on the record for saying that. Very, very happy. Hey, today's episode brought to you by Homemade Soup. made by your old lady there. So, all right, that's all we got time for today. And it looks like Hotep, man, you knocked it out of the park. You're dropping some historical fact bombs on us. Feel free, leave us with some parting thoughts.
Yeah, it's very interesting when I saw the notes about J.P. Morgan Chase. I wrote the document, the Patriot Report, Unmasking the Conspiracy of Money and War. I wanted to do a deep dive into central banking, so I wanted to look at it from historical record, how it actually came about, and I published that. You can get it on Amazon or hotepjesus.com. Go get that document, very, very detailed, and I'm using congressional record. There's no conspiracy theory in there. I'm using congressional record, you know, what the Supreme Court said, what congressmen said, et cetera, et cetera. So go take a look at that, hotepjesus.com. It's called the Patriot Report, Unmasking the Conspiracy of Money and War, essential for any crypto crusader.
All right. And hey, civic journalism is not dead. It's alive and well, and it needs people like you to support it. The best way you can do that, hit that like button and make sure you follow everybody's channel. The links are going to be in the description right below. Hey, go ahead and hit that like button while you're at it. Make sure you're sub to the channel. That's all we got. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. Be safe. Avoid any balloons. Avoid that vinyl chloride. Stay inside if you live near that disaster. It's not actually a laughing matter. And that's all we got for today. Come on, EPA. Step it up.